And Sweyn, I need you to turn my video on, please.
Apologies, I switched you off instead of me for the credits. That's what happened. So here we all are at last.
Yeah, here we all are.
A few seconds we never edit, so welcome.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Dr. Tech Show with myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and sometimes a guest, guiding you through the world of online communications, which is a show which is the brainchild of John Popham, sadly missed. So let's do the weather, because I've got the sun shining in here on me, Sweyn, as you can probably see on my face now when I look out the window, and it's really nice. It's a blue sky, and it's a sunny day in Birmingham. So what about yourself?
It's blustery, rains most of the time, the odd spell of blue sky, but it's pretty autumn, late autumn, wintry sort of weather here in Orkney at the moment. But it's only 3 or 4 weeks until the days start getting longer again. So there's that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was nice. I went out for a quick walk before the show, and it was nice to notice there was a sunny side of the road still. So I walked on the sunny side of the road.
It's the time of year here where the sun, when it eventually comes up, is staring you straight in the eye if you're going it never gets very high in the sky. It's probably the most striking thing of all about living here. Not so much the darkness and the light, it's the angle of the sun that's so amazing.
Interesting. So yesterday was World Television Day, and this was in recognition of the increasing impact which television has on decision making by bringing world attention to conflicts and threats to peace and security, and its potential role in sharpening the focus on other major issues, including economic and social. The UN proclaimed this day in 1996, and it's not so much a celebration of the tool, but rather the philosophy which represents the symbol for communication and globalization in the contemporary world, and recognition of the increasing impact television has on the process of decision making. Television was thus acknowledged in 1996 as the major tool in forming, channeling, and affecting public opinion. Its impact and presence and its influence on world politics could not be denied. Are you a big TV watcher, Sweyn?
I watch a fair amount of TV. I mean, I'm not saying that it's for many of these highfalutin reasons, but yeah, a little bit of TV here now and again. I realize I'm now sharing the screen when we're talking rather than seeing us when we're talking. We'll get there today.
Yeah, that's fine. It's I don't actually have a TV in where I live now, but I do watch iPlayer and ITV Hub and so on, things like that on my laptop. And I'm, people have said to me, you should get a television, and there's something for me, it's something better about being able to choose what I watch rather than just kind of watching a stream of things somebody else has decided that I should be watching.
I must say, one of the best things that we've acquired is a TV that will run an Apple TV box, and that's just a really nice collection of all the player apps with a single remote control, and it just appears as a list of apps on the television, and then you just select the one you want, and off it goes. I've really liked that. Our TV is new enough to have some of those apps on it already, but I've always found that a bit of a palaver to use them. But the Apple TV box seems to work somehow. It's really good.
You still have to choose the program that you're going to watch, though, don't you?
Yes, you do. Yeah, I mean, it's just exactly the same as using My5 or All4 or iPlayer or whatever on a laptop, except it's on your television.
I would like a bigger screen.
The thing I like most is that whenever there's any text, this is pure Apple gimmick. Whenever there's any text, you have to, like, if you're searching for a program in the search feature or whatever, if your cursor goes into a text field, you get a message on your iPhone saying, type it here if you want. So you can type the title you're searching for into your phone keyboard rather than having to go all the way through all the alphabet on the television remote control. Anyway, that's not the main reason I like it, but I do like that feature.
Good. Well, for any of our listeners, if you have a particular story you want to tell us about your television watching, especially if it's watching digital programs, then we'd love to hear from you about that. So 25th of November, this week is International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and I think we marked this last year as well. It's sad to say that nearly 1 in 3 women have been abused in their lifetime, and in times of crises, as we are now, the numbers rise, as seen as during the pandemic and recent humanitarian crises, conflicts, and climate disasters. And a new report from UN Women, based on data from 13 countries since the pandemic, shows that 2 in 3 women reported that they or a woman they know experienced some form of violence and are more likely to face food insecurity. Only 1 in 10 women said the victims would go to the police for help, which is a stark number. While pervasive gender-based violence is not inevitable, it can and must be prevented. And stopping this violence starts with believing survivors, adopting comprehensive and inclusive approaches that tackle the root causes, transform harmful social norms, and empower women and girls. With survivor-centered essential services across policing, justice, health, and social sectors, and sufficient financing for the women's rights agenda, it says we can end gender-based violence. So to raise awareness, this year's theme is Orange the World, End Violence Against Women Now. Orange is our colour to represent a brighter future, free of violence against women and girls, and hence me wearing an orange scarf today as a token of our commitment to ending violence against women and girls. And I think it's, in digital as well, women are only something like 17% of people who work in tech still. So the number's low, and it should be higher given the proportion of women to men in the world. So it'd be good to see a change to that, because it's for diversity purposes, if nothing else. It's better, isn't it? When there's a range of people contributing to a thing.
For sure. I've always been quite lucky in the places I've worked where there's been reasonable gender balance, not necessarily completely 50-50, but there's always been a reasonable number of women around it. Without a doubt, it makes a big difference to how the whole place works and how it is. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, coming on to events, we've been featuring 100% Digital Leeds skills for supporting digital inclusion since the beginning of November, because we thought it was a great selection of skills-based webinars they were offering. And they're on to, this week is their session 4, and today at 11 and 2 they were offering a session on entertainment. They're offering this now while we're speaking. And under the entertainment banner, they're saying, find out about a whole host of fun digital tools and resources linked to people's hobbies and interests, and how you can use them to inspire people to take their first steps with digital. So the examples they quote are a 360-degree tour of Buckingham Palace, radio station apps, and a range of games. I think we talked about this briefly last week, didn't we, Sweyn, about tours of, places you might not have necessarily seen, or either in this country or kind of around the world. Radio station apps, very popular. I use a radio station app every single day. And games. And I use this Duolingo, the language app for
that's learning.
Irish.
That's learning, Pauline. That's not a game.
Yeah, it's a game. It's gamifying. I think it's gamifying learning. That's what I like about it.
That's good. Yes.
Which I think has a lot of potential. Yes. Tours. I haven't done any of the tours that people offer. Not since lockdown. I mean, I've done them other times.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a woman in Orkney has done a couple of 360-degree tours of various quite inaccessible places around the tiny Orkney Islands. I need to get a link for that for next week.
Yeah, that'd be great. It sounds really interesting.
But a 360-degree tour of Buckingham Palace sounds like it would save a lot of time. So.
Yeah, wouldn't be my cup of tea, as you can imagine, but I'm sure I know it's of interest to lots of people. So yeah, more power to them if that's what they want to do. And the next week's session is called Digital Wings, and this is where I don't know if they've already revealed who their partner is, but they've got some partner helping them with this series of webinars, and they're saying for next week, find out about our partner's free online learning platform and how you can use it to develop your own skills and confidence and that of your wider team, as well as to support others. Now I wonder if that's the Digital Unite Inspire. I wonder if I'm revealing too much there to all our listeners.
We're only guessing. We're only guessing.
Like yeah. That's an educated guess, but I'm sure whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be wonderful, and we look forward to finding out what it is. Actually,
indeed.
Maybe, by this time next week, if we kind of check in the morning, we should know what their who the partner is. And the final event on the list is actually in December, but I think it's worth flagging up now. It's 1st and 2nd December, Scotland's Digital Health and Care event. This is one you said you might be attending, Sweyn.
So when I saw this one on the list, it reminded me I should be registering for this to attend at least part of it. Not just in Scotland, but across the whole of UK. People are, providers of care of various types, home care and also supported care in home-based settings, are looking at making those services a bit more digital, using there's a well-developed, particularly for in-home care, a service of community alarms and fire alarms and so on that are linked up to call automatically if there's a problem in somebody's house, or if the homeowner falls over and is wearing the pendant, they can press the button and a call will be made to bring them help. Well, all of that has to be made digital as technology underlying it changes over the next couple of years. So there's lots of activity in that area at this time. So if anybody's wanting a good introduction to what's going on in Scotland, and it'll be similar in the rest of the UK, then this should be a good event.
It says it's an annual conference, so is it usually in person?
I think so. I think it was maybe even cancelled last year. But I suspect most attendees will be fairly plugged into the network already, and it'll be a kind of a networking opportunity more than great news or stuff like that. But
it's all free to participate in, so that's really good. And as Sweyn has said, it's aimed at those who are working to deliver digitally enabled services in health, housing and care. As we know, those kind of services have undergone 18 months of rapid scale up and development. So the program will showcase digitally enabled solutions in the context of citizens, services, home and the environment. And the topics listed will include Scotland's digital ambitions for renewing health and social care, hybrid solutions, in-person and digitally enabled pathways, digitally supported citizens, the role of public health, building trusted services based on data and equity, service sustainability and the role of digital health and care, methodologies for developing digital solutions and sharing international good practice. So it sounds like for anybody actually involved in any kind of service delivery, developing their digital element of things, it sounds like, there's something for everybody to learn from there.
Yes.
Yeah, really good. Okay, so as we said, we don't have a guest today, but we have plenty of stories that we have picked up over the last while, and we will go to the first one here, which is called My Noise. Now, this is one I actually picked up as a user because I was working in a coffee shop locally and finding that the sound of people having conversations behind me was kind of interrupting what I was trying to do. So I searched online for a something that would create a noise, but not be, not kind of take up time and stuff, and not take my attention. Sorry. And this one is called My Noise. It's actually mynoise.net on the internet, and their kind of keywords are focus, relax, and sleep. And they say that My Noise creates beautiful noises to mask noises you don't want to hear, your chatty colleagues, tinnitus, or even your inner voice when you can't shut it down. And the concept is simple, it works extremely well, and does not require expensive noise cancelling headphones. Thanks to its unique audio engineering, My Noise sets the standard among background sounds. And I think you're playing it now, Sweyn.
I'm playing Irish Coast. Probably
so
a bit too loud.
A wet day on the coast of Ireland. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, you can alter the wind rumble or shore noise.
Yeah.
The pebbles on the shore. I can't hear myself.
Oh, that's fascinating. It is real. I mean, just looking at and playing with it is an interesting thing to do. So if you scroll down to I'll read the blurb.
I'm not quite sure to stop it without stopping. Well, it's on.
Are you able to read?
Yes, I can.
The page a little bit.
I can do.
And up again. This one describes it as early this year we embarked on a small ferry boat. The day was a stormy one, making conditions perfect for recording white noise in the natural world. We finally reached our destination, Cape Clear, a small island along the Irish coast. So it just gives a description then of what you might imagine. This soundscape combines them all: the ocean waves, the wind, and the rain into a powerful sound blocker. Compared to classic white noise, the naturally occurring sounds from the coastal environment in this noise generator translates into a low fatigue level, even after a few hours of intensive use in a loud office. Have a try. So it sounds a bit like, we had a guest on a while back, Madeline Sugden, and she started an app during lockdown called Radio Lento. So it's a bit like that. It's a bit like that, and it's just another choice of things for people to listen to. But I think it was really good. I'm having used it. I know how effective it is. Yeah.
I can still hear it, even though you can't, because I've stopped sharing, but they're switched it off now. That I feel more relaxed already.
Well, it was quite remarkable, you know, sitting in a cafe, listening to conversations behind me, and then tuning into the cafe noise generator, and it was all just kind of burble, and didn't distract me. So, you know.
Well, we can't go back to that one because I've had to shut it, so I don't hear it anymore. So
yeah,
just to warn you.
But we can recommend that one.
But it's great. Mine knows. All the links for events and awareness days that we did are already in the description for this video, and the links to all these other things will appear over the next day or so once we get that done.
Great. So please enjoy them and come back and let us know you know, which things you particularly enjoyed, because we can have more of that and less of other things if that's what you want. Okie dokie. So back to one of our most popular topics, our most favorite topic, anyway, public libraries. And this is a story entitled "Public Libraries: A Community Level Resource to Advance Population Health." And it says that policymakers and public health practitioners rarely consider public libraries to be part of the health system, even though they possess several characteristics that suggest unrealized potential to advance population health. So this is a scoping review which uses an adapted social determinants framework to categorize current health-related work conducted by public libraries in the United States and to discuss the library's potential as meso-level community resources to improve population health. Our discussion of libraries contributes to scholarship on place-based health disparities by emphasizing the potential impact of institutions that are modifiable through social policy, e.g. parks, community centers, schools, and which have a conceptually clear or empirically documented relationship to health. I just thought this was interesting because we do promote libraries as a place where people feel welcome and you know, they don't have to perform or anything. So anything we spot that kind of promotes that positive stuff about public libraries is good. And obviously they will have digital characteristics. You know, they have websites and databases people can search. When I've been in a couple of public libraries, as I do as part of my job with Northfield Community Partnership, you know, they always have useful guides. I picked up some leaflets and booklets from Independent Age the other day, including one on scams, which I must bring to the attention of this program maybe next week, the week after. So they always have good stuff, you know, in paper form and in digital form to help people just have better lives, really. So
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting as more and more focus is put on health, as it were, prevention of health and health through everyday living. I think it's really good to have a look at public libraries from that point of view, for sure.
Definitely. Okay, moving on to our next story, which is the launch of the National Data Bank. We did mention it a bit last week with our guest, Paul Russell from the Data Poverty Alliance, and we'll come on to more stories about that shortly. But the Good Things Foundation and O2, Virgin Media O2, sorry, launched the National Data Bank last week, I think it was, following a successful 3-month pilot with 10 of the Good Things Foundation community partners across the country. And this saw 416 data vouchers distributed to people cut off from essential online services and support. And the point, which is an ongoing point for them, is it's not okay to leave millions of people locked out of the digital world. And the chief executive, group chief executive of Good Things Foundation, Helen Milner, said, having sufficient data in our increasingly digital society is not a nice to have, it's an absolute essential. It's Christmas coming up and many set to spend the best festive season alone. Being connected to loved ones and to spend less on bills could make the world of difference. The National Data Bank, which can be thought of as a food bank for data, is already doing great work to bridge the digital divide. And she says, we're very proud to be rolling out nationwide, and we're delighted that Virgin Media O2 is upping its data pledge this Christmas. Together, we can come together to help address the issue of data poverty in the UK for once and for all. So the National Data Bank, if you're not aware of it, is a central hub where community groups can access free data voucher codes and SIM cards for people who need them. And the pilot highlighted that a 7 gig monthly donation wasn't enough to help people access all of the essential services they need. So next year, the monthly amount of data they provide is going to be increasing to 15 gig per month from 7. So that sounds like a really helpful and hopeful thing for people to be doing. But it's the fact that it's available, especially before Christmas, Sweyn, I think is very significant. And you may have seen the advertising on telly.
Yes.
So there's a big advertising campaign now. Virgin Media O2 have started illustrating, saying that so many people are without connectivity, and they've got their little robots visiting people's homes to kind of give them data.
I noticed that one or two other mobile providers have started other schemes, whether that's just because they want to be seen to be doing something in this area as well, but it seems to perhaps maybe have stimulated two of the other companies to do other offers or schemes as well.
Well, that's great. And again, if you know of anybody or any organization that can benefit from this national data bank, please do tell them about it. And if they want to come on and talk about it on the show, we'd be delighted. And I know, again, in Northfield and Edgbaston, we'll be taking advantage of this, because plenty of people don't have data, and having a data voucher code or a SIM card might make all the difference to them in the lead up to and after Christmas. So yeah, great. Okie doke. And our next story is entitled "Offline, No One Can Hear You Scream: Achieving Digital Equity in the 21st Century." We picked this up from the RSA, and they had a partnership with the Digital Poverty Alliance, and exploring what a digital equal future could look like, and make a range of recommendations on what needs to happen to get there. So they have this briefing, as I read out the title, and they make a number of recommendations to achieve this future. And these are, they need backing and buy-in from local and national government. That's number one. They want to boost accessibility of digital tools. This remains a key factor in the digital divide. Number three, need to explore the mental and emotional barriers of digital exclusion. Number four, they say we can achieve digital enablement throughout society with appropriate IT skills training. And five, they need a holistic approach to digital inequality. And they're saying a digitally equal future is possible, but we must act now to achieve it. So it's a good range of things that are needed. And we will go on, actually. It's a bit of our theme for today, isn't it, Sweyn? The Digital Poverty Alliance and the APPG conference that's been held last week. We have some more stories about that just coming up now. But it's good to see the RSA coming in as well. They have a lot of fellows around the country. And if they're getting involved in it, then that brings it to a whole new level, I think. Okay, so the APPG for Digital Skills event was last week, I think. Sweyn, was it? Russell did say that he was going to be taking part in it, who was our guest last week. And another person that we have had as a guest previously, Dr. Ciara Allman, who worked for Oxfordshire Libraries, or wrote a report about Oxfordshire Libraries and being a digital assistant there. She has written these blogs, I suppose, of what's been happening on the 3-day event, which was, as I say, last week, and the hashtag was DPIS21. So day one was about digital capability and understanding digital skills in the workplace and the future of work. And the pieces are long, but I think it's well worth reading them, and we're going to talk a bit about each of them, because each day had a different theme, and it's kind of the theme of what we do, so it's worth repeating here. So this is Ciara Allman's work, but we're referencing it. So she says the future of work is digital, and the UK has some catching up to do if it aspires to a digitally capable workforce fit to meet that future. And that was, she says, was the predominant message from the first installment of the Digital Poverty and Inequality Summit, which is what the event was called, hosted last week by the APPG for Digital Skills. Invited contributors included representatives from Tech UK, Future.now, Google, Harvey Nash Group, BT, City and Guilds, Community Trade Union, and Prospect. And some of those are recruitment agencies. Some of them are just big businesses. City and Guilds, obviously, are a learning platform that most people will know. So it's a good range
It's probably worth saying that the APPG is an all-party parliamentary group of certainly MPs, but possibly members of the House of Lords as well. So they've, from across the parties, they get together to look at specific topics, and those groups are called all-party parliamentary groups, or APPGs. And this one has hosted this series of events, which is good to see.
Yeah, there are APPGs for nearly anything you can think of. Yes. So it's great to have that combination. It's great to see politicians working, across party for things that the kind of
self-organized groups as well. They're not any group of MPs or parliamentarians can set one up about anything they like. So it's a very good method, I think, for highlighting issues, and this one certainly seems to be going well.
Yeah. So Ciara listed several recommendations which surfaced at the roundtable on the first day to address whether there are important gaps, and I've just listed the headings, but on screen Sweyn has each of the sections, so you can see that there's a long report for each of them. It's well worth reading. So the first one was on evidence, and I think it's clear that there is a lot of evidence about what's working life is life for adults, but she's saying we need to understand more fully, as well as understanding the link between digital skills in all aspects of life, health, recidivism, and of course productivity, both on personal and societal level. So there was a reference to the What Works network to generate evidence-based insights. So it sounds like there's a good, there's good information that can be tapped into. The next one was education, and I think again, this is one where it kind of seems self-evident, but she says that the pathways between education and work are not adequately preparing young people for a digital workplace. So formal education needs a stronger emphasis on digital skills, and I certainly agree with that. I'm meeting people who, haven't learned how to do some what we would consider very simple things online. And as more services are moving online, then everybody needs to be able to take advantage of that. I mean, we do still obviously encourage services to have a non-digital offer as well as digital, but we all need education in that. The next one is lifelong inclusion, and this is to make sure that we can keep upskilling ourselves digitally, because we learn certain things, but things are changing all the time, and unless you have opportunities to learn, then you're not going to keep increasing the skill. So we need to be mindful that we can do that. Next one is prioritization from the top. So leaders who themselves may not be particularly digitally skilled, actually, it's fragmented, the digital skills delivery and policy. So there needs to be a clear strategic national policy of this and priority to be communicated from government and across the highest levels. And this was recommended by the House of Lords COVID-19 Select Committee to be led by the Cabinet Office. So we hope that one takes place. Next one is signposting. Several speakers, she says, stated the problem is in delivering digital skills is not supply but demand. So yeah, there are lots of programs available, but people don't always know where they are. And I'm finding this, my work as well. There are online centers, but often people don't know where to go for help. And I one of the slides that I often use in my slide deck is the map of online centers in the Birmingham area, and across the West Midlands sometimes. So we need to let people know that there is help out there and where they can find it without making them jump through hoops to find it. The next bullet point is motivation and skills go hand in hand. So people, the capability and motivation, she says, are determinants of digital poverty and often closely linked. So Liz Williams from Future.now, she says, put it as if the pandemic hasn't motivated people, what's it going to take? So it did seem like the ultimate encourager, I suppose, but people still have other, on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, people still have other needs that they have prioritized. So the language we use and so on, I was encouraged gently by a friend recently to, when I'm talking about equipment that we need for accessing the internet, don't talk about devices, say computer or laptop, things that people use on a more regular basis. So I've learned from that. So there is, the next section was locating responsibility for digital skills, and Ciara says that the discussions of digital skills in the workplace tend to take the expectations of employers and industry as a default perspective. But what if you're not in that category? So it's, it is important, but it's not the only thing. And it individualizes the problem of digital skills, situating the responsibility for the skills on the individual rather than placing a burden on the system. So she's asking what is the responsibility of the job market, or even designers and developers of technology, digital systems themselves. If they're not user friendly for marginalized users such as disabled people, people who speak English as a second language, people who have left education or lack textual literacy, the experience of being online can be disheartening and demotivating. So that's something to look out for. The last two bullets are critical and abstract thinking skills and public participation. And critical and abstract thinking skills, I remember when I was talking about what people really need to be learning at school, and this is one of the things that came across in the conversation I was having with the teacher at the time. It's it's fine to have digital skills, but if you can't think critically, then you're not going to be able to assess what's worth learning and what isn't. Ofcom apparently has identified some of these issues as different from the problem solving skills outlined in the Essential Digital Skills Framework. Ofcom says people are increasingly unlikely to validate online information sources, have limited understanding of the ways companies collect and use personal data, and fail to accurately identify paid for online advertising. And again, I find this, Sweyn, and you probably do as well, that people just click on the first link in it when they do a search, and and it could be an ad. So it's unhelpful really. And the collecting personal data, every web page you click on now has a whole, usually a page that pops up says, we collect your data basically in a much longer form. And unless you choose to reject the collection of data and then it's not just one page, it's 2 pages, legitimate, what do they call it? That other sections is legitimate object collection or something. You have to object to legitimate interests.
Yeah.
Legitimate interests. So you're required to object to legitimate interests as well.
Yeah.
And
what does that mean?
First of all, it's boring and time consuming. And secondly, people don't it's much easier to click agree to all and then you're on the page, which is, not good. Yeah. So there's lots of things, and that was just the first day of this APBG. So it's fascinating. I would very much recommend the reading of these blogs, because Kira is a very good writer and conveys the passion these needs and these.
And she's very good at linking things that might not look related. She's very good at linking them together in ways that make you think about how the whole system works. It's really
good. Yeah. So we move on to day 2 of the APBG for Digital Skills event, which is on data poverty. And again, this is something we talked about only last week with Paul Russell, but again, we have talked about it other times on the show as well. And the start of this blog says that precise definitions are less important than understanding the vectors of the problem. Data poverty, like poverty more broadly, is a product and producer of both resource and social exclusion. It's contextual, embedded in individual circumstances, and it is relative, meaning that the benchmark of exclusion changes as the nature of digital technology changes. So again, she's got a number of bullet points. United around the urgency of the issue is the imperative, as captured in the key takeaways from the session. Government must take a leadership role. We need long-term solutions that are sustainable beyond the pandemic. Data poverty is poverty. There is a need to more accurately identify need, and where people have access is as important as other factors. And she goes on to say it's easy to overlook the more important qualitative differences in access to data that contribute to data poverty. For example, public internet access points have long been part of strategies for digital inclusion. The government's 2017 digital strategy called libraries, our favorite topic, the go-to providers of digital inclusion. And public libraries are in fact vitally important access points for people living in data poverty. And Kira here then highlights that her own research with colleagues in the University of Oxford showed that 29% of library computer users in Oxfordshire had neither computers nor internet access at home. 29%, that's a huge number. Public access is not qualitatively the same as access at home, and public Wi-Fi cannot be considered as an adequate solution for people to be digitally included. Not only do people who rely on public Wi-Fi have fewer opportunities to acquire and practice digital skills, but they can also be subjected to more surveillance and tracking on public networks. Certain tasks, like attending court hearings and online banking, are more difficult and risky in public internet spaces, and it's often marginalized people who are forced to conduct their private brackets online lives in public. Therefore, priority must be placed on at-home or mobile internet suitable to individuals' needs. And we have talked about this before, haven't we, Sweyn, about court hearings and so on, and how, I mean, if you were forced to attend a court hearing, somewhere where you can only get public Wi-Fi or do your banking, in the street or
it's
in
not
a coffee
ideal.
shop. No,
Yeah.
not at all, not at all. And I think people are not, they don't know about the risks they're taking some of the time, and that's worrying. That's worrying. Kira says one further point deserves attention in a discussion of digital poverty. This is the related downstream impact of data poverty on further digital exclusion. In particular, this is the problem of people living in data poverty becoming missing data. And she illustrates this by saying, one attendee mentioned in the Zoom chat at this meeting that many people are unable to prove their identity to digital ID systems. Sorry, this was a criticism leveled by the National Audit Office actually on the Verify system for universal credit. The issue of datafied invisibility is a nuanced aspect of data poverty. People become increasingly invisible to digital systems when they do not leave data trails, and they cannot leave data trails when they cannot access or afford the internet. So avoiding these feedback loops in which the poor have inadequate access to the internet and are further penalized for their inadequate access by high utility bills, targeted scams and failed credit checks, etc., should be a paramount concern to society, the business sector, and certainly to government.
It's you're not part of the system if you're not using the internet, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that leads to further issues of isolation or the opposite of access.
Yeah, exclusion, and
Exclusion,
and people recognize that. It's not like people don't know that, and then they can start to feel resentful about having to be online, and that's the opposite of what the whole thing was meant to be for. It's meant to be liberation. It's meant to be giving people freedom, and it's doing the opposite. Then that's not a good thing.
It's not good.
Okay, so we'll kind of finish this set of stories on the third day of the DPIS 21 day, and this is about research and development and how can the tech sector drive innovation in the UK economy and help close the digital divide. And again, a blog post by Kira Allman on this, and so she says, is the question whether it is possible for the tech sector to both drive innovation and close the digital divide, i.e. are these ambitions at odds with one another, or is it whether tech sector driven innovations in the UK economy could possibly close the digital divide, i.e. is innovation the answer to inequality? I'm not sure I could answer that, but yeah.
In other words, I suppose if it's all business generated, if all the innovation is coming from business and trying to, in the end, make more money for businesses, is that at odds with a more general benefit, or is it through that process that more general benefit arises? I think you could argue that one for a long time and not come to
two ends of the same thing, maybe. I don't know. So she goes on to say the transformation innovation is contingent on digital and social equity. This means access and accessibility, not just to connections and devices, but to the tech sector itself. And she quotes the WISE campaign, just 16.7% of ICT professionals are women, which is a figure I mentioned earlier. And Tech Nation, which is another network in the tech world, reports that women hold only 22% of tech directorships. And a 2017 report by PricewaterhouseCoopers finds that just 3% of women say that technology would be their first choice for a career. 3%, wow, that's a very small number, isn't it? There's also a 20-point gap between men and women who study STEM in school. It's, just seems in 2021, it just seems this shouldn't be. She says the conversation skirted some of the most pressing issues in relation to the tech sector's role and responsibility in relation to the digital divide, which encompasses many more issues of exclusion beyond connectivity alone. For example, there is the issue of technology design and the need to center the experience of disabled users, second language speakers, the elderly, cognitive diversity, and more. There's also the issue of how the tech sector contributes to deepening disadvantage for some people through surveillance and risk profiling, for instance. And there is the role of the tech sector in mitigating online harms, including both the content people access online, but also how their data is extracted and repurposed. So lots more food for thought there, Sweyn. Yeah, I think this, hopefully people who are listening and who are interested in getting online and communicating online will find this useful as well, because the APPGs, while they're cross-party and therefore have no lawmaking powers, they can we can influence what politicians think by responding to these these things. And they are, the APPG, I think I'll come on to it. Yeah, they're doing a evidence review. The UK Policy Digital Poverty Alliance is doing an interim review of evidence, and they want people to add their own stories to what they're doing. And we'll come on to that story in a minute. But I just wanted to say something about something I felt was missing, and something I'll add to the evidence review, is that there is what's known as a tech for good sector. So, there's technology, which is mostly profit making, but there's also tech for good. And while tech for good isn't necessarily not profit making, it's exploring technology, the social angles of technology as well, and the responsibility of people to, the responsibility some people take in the tech world to be more responsible and to try and use technology for social change.
Yeah, I mean, the tech for good has to be funded somehow, and some of those operators fund their activity by charging for it and trying to cover costs. But there's a difference between a focus on the good that technology can deliver compared to a mainline business using it to generate more business and more profit for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's an important omission, right enough.
Yeah, there is a network, UK Tech for Good network, that we've talked about
certainly
before.
Be plugged into this.
Yeah, and Rebecca Ray Evans, who has been on the program with us before, is one of the key people to be in touch with about this. We might get back to her and we certainly encourage the network as a whole to respond, because I'm a member of that, and but also individuals, and see what they have to say. Maybe we can bring Kira, because I'm sure Kira was delighted to meet people in that Tech for Good world, and other members of the DPA. So we'll try and facilitate that a bit more.
Yeah.
So the next story, as I said, is about the interim review. It's entitled UK Digital Policy Evidence Interim Review. And they're saying they wish to support a national delivery plan, but with so many reports offering so many different recommendations and varying levels of good supporting evidence, it's almost impossible for decision makers and policymakers to effectively determine the best way forward. So for this reason, Dr. Ciara Allman is pulling together a robust evidence review.
She's busy, isn't she?
She is. And I think she's probably enjoying it a lot. So that's great. So we can synthesize the sources of insight and present data-backed solutions to help government and industry eradicate digital poverty once and for all. So there's a call to action. Call to action, my friends. For any remaining evidence to be shared, and there's a link in this blog post to report an interim review of the evidence on digital poverty, drawing from a range of source material, including reports, articles, books, and statistical data sets published by government, academia, industry, and the third sector. And the aims of the final evidence report are to draw out and synthesize the overarching themes and trends, spotlight best practices and what works, helping to pinpoint outstanding gaps in insight and to make impartial recommendations based on evidence and about strategies for eradicating digital poverty. So they want to encourage everybody to collaborate, and they're inviting feedback and input from everyone with an interest in digital poverty. Specifically, they list the APPGs, the DPA community, including our members, board members, and also our growing list of brilliant ambassadors. So they're inviting people to join the DPA Community Hub, which I did last night, and to submit any contributions and feedback by the 6th of December. So the deadline is 6th of December to the National Evidence Review Room here. So they have a link online so you can send your evidence, and they will be collated alongside the outcomes from the Digital Poverty and Inequality Summit and be considered in the final report to be published in early 2022. So if you're interested in digital poverty, who isn't, who wants other people to be excluded? It's just not, doesn't compute with me. So if you have an interest and you feel you have some evidence, or even if it's anecdotal, I think it's worth
Yes.
getting your story there. And we will encourage people we're in contact with to join that. Sweyn, is this something you'll be signing up for?
I will be.
Brilliant. Great.
Yes, I hadn't realized quite that you have to sign up, but I'll do that now.
Yeah, great. And they ask, I think it's good to see other people signing up, and the usual thing, you fill in a profile and stuff. It's a Mighty Networks. The platform is Mighty Networks, which is fairly user friendly, so easy for other people hopefully to contribute to that.
Yes.
Okie doke. So next we move to the US, and the story about closing all the American digital divides this decade, which is some ambition. And they're saying on this story from Ericsson.com in a blog post that the pandemic has exposed 4 drivers for closing the digital divide. So we're keeping talking the same theme here. They're saying that a common perception is that closing the digital divide means giving consumers access to the internet at high speed for entertainment purposes. However, the pandemic has exposed 4 more important demand drivers at the intersection of vital consumer, business, and societal functions. And they list them as: hybrid work is here to stay, making personal broadband a foundation for adults to participate in the labour market. This transforms the relationship of where we live to where we work, changing the nature of work commutes and business trips as part of the process. The next one is connected students. This reveals that broadband connected schools were an essential but insufficient ambition. Connecting students at home has quickly moved beyond homework to live remote instruction. Third one is remote healthcare. This has pushed the digital transformation on both the demand and supply sides and is vital in building a healthcare system that reaches all citizens. And fourthly, small and medium businesses. They need to accelerate their digital transformation to compete effectively and secure their position in the future economy. This category shows unprecedented activity in the US, both when starting new companies and closing existing ones. So we can learn something from that for ourselves here in the UK. I think we can relate to all of those 4 factors, hybrid work, connecting students, remote healthcare, and helping small and medium businesses, because they are the lifeblood of so many organizations, so many communities.
It's good to see these international parallels coming through, because in different ways, perhaps, it's going to be the same issues in most countries.
Absolutely. And I think, I think we have a lot to learn from other countries. I think things have happened in Africa and Asia may be different, but related to what was happening in Europe. And it's good to be learning from each other, so we don't have to make the same mistakes. Okay, on to a more local story, and this was about public Wi-Fi. And we often think that this is a old hat now, and that we don't need to talk about this anymore. But it was good to pick up this story that free public Wi-Fi is to be installed in Richmond Town Centre, because media is where most people pick up their local media is where most people pick up their information from still. So if people are hearing about this, they might think, oh, I can use my Wi-Fi.
It's a lovely picture of Richmond there to illustrate the story as well.
So this is from North Yorkshire County Council in partnership with a company called 9Net Limited. They're rolling out this scheme in 16 market towns across the county in a bid to support recovery and growth for communities and businesses. And this is based on a £3 million investment awarded by the York and North Yorkshire Local Enterprise Partnership as part of its allocation from the government's Getting Building Fund. So good to hear about that, and we'd love to hear from anybody in Richmond or anybody else in the North Yorkshire who wants to talk about Wi-Fi. So there's more quotes further down. The one above that says, David Dixon, chair of the York and North Yorkshire Local Enterprise Partnership for Infrastructure and Joint Assets Board, said the region has ambitions to be greener, fairer and stronger as we navigate the pandemic, and schemes like this will help us get there. So it's good to hear people talking about that as a good thing. Coming on to the next story, which is about digital champions, and this is from a company called Hable.co.uk, and they're just listing what the benefits are of digital champions and what they are. And I think it was just interesting because we've talked about digital champions on the program before, but sometimes people aren't always sure what they might be. So this is what the benefits of them are anyway. They improve digital skills across your organization. So there's research apparently from World Skills UK showing that 1 in 4 employees feel their current workforce lacks the basic digital skills that they need. So recruiting a network of champions across your organization can be key to improving these skills. And by taking part in sessions with a digital champion, your people are encouraged and inspired to learn more about various digital skills relevant to the role. They can also pick up, things that aren't maybe not be relevant to the role, but might feel them better about life in general. So I would encourage that. This is the one you might relate to, Sweyn, alleviate some of the pressure on your IT team. Through the improvements in digital knowledge and skills of individuals, along with having champions answer all those tricky questions, there'll be a lot less pressure on your already busy IT teams, freeing up their time and allowing them to focus on other more pressing tasks. Is that something that occasionally occurs in your line of work?
Sure, yes. I mean, you can tell where some teams have got this going among themselves and share information and sort of sort out some of their own problems. And you can tell where that's working for sure, yes. From an IT point of view.
I had a request last week from somebody about could we help them install their new computers, and I had to say, well, actually that's not our role. That's an IT help desk role.
Yes.
So it was good. It's good to be able to differentiate, I think, for people it's back to the old thing, as we talked about before on the show, of like you do digital, so therefore you must know everything
there is, in all aspects. Yeah.
And it's good to let people know there are compartments in which stuff, and you should get somebody else to help. Okay, number 3 on this list of digital champions is to provide a lasting and meaningful learning experience. And it says that a digital champion can pick up where an expert trainer left off, creating a long-lasting change even after a change program is wrapped up. And the pertinent question is, would you rather learn from a trainer or your teammates? And I think this is often the case. That apparently, and in a study by Degreed, a company called Degreed, more than half of people would turn to their colleagues for advice when wanting to learn something new. And I think that this is speaks to the experience of the social media surgeries, Sweyn, where people want to learn from other people they can relate to, basically, rather than it's fine to be shown something by a trainer, but then it's reinforced and kind of underpinned by your friends being able to help you. Digital champions can strengthen working relationships across your organization. So pairing people with champions is a great way to foster new links and strengthen working relationships across your organization. People may get the opportunity to interact with new people from different departments, which they otherwise wouldn't meet. And from strong working relationships comes a whole host of other benefits, including improved productivity, better collaboration, a boost in staff morale, and overall well-being. So that sounds like all very positive things to have. And one more thing about having digital champions, they encourage new technology investments are being used to their full potential. It says, ultimately, recruiting digital champions helps to improve adoption, thus ensuring the investment you've made into new technology is being used to its full potential across the organization. And through peer-to-peer learning, and one-to-one sessions, your champions program could be key to making sure your new programs, apps, and processes are embraced at scale and for the long haul. So it's really good to read that list of kind of benefits of a digital champion. Yeah, and they have an infographic that Sweyn has on screen now, which just illustrates the kind of 5 things that would be are benefits of having a digital champion network. And this is Hable, which I think works with Microsoft to implement programs. So yeah, good to see people reinforcing the message about digital champions.
Yep.
Okie doke, we're on to our last set of stories, and this one is from the Public Law Project, which is a UK charity, I believe. And their headline is JR and Courts Bill, ensuring access to justice in online courts. And we have talked about the courts and digital in previous shows. And this article says, as the Judicial Review and Courts Bill Committee debates the introduction of electronic means in court proceedings, we ask, how will they ensure digitally excluded individuals aren't left behind? So they have key recommendations to the committee to ensure online courts do not disadvantage those without digital access, and they include clarifying the nature of online procedural assistance to ensure its implementation is effective. They expand on this to say there needs to be clear assurances that the 16% of the UK population who lack basic digital skills and are unable to participate in a digital society will not be left behind by this bill. The next bullet is those with experience of digital inclusion to be represented in the Online Procedure Rule Committee. And a third bullet is a second information technology expert in the OPRC to lessen the risk of a particular view of the capability and role of information technology in the justice system taking precedence. So that sounds like a really equal ways of enabling access to justice. And there's a full report on this in this link. Yeah, read the full briefing is there. So I think it's worth highlighting these items. And what's that, a 6-page report, which is the briefing for the House of Commons committee stage. So it's just handy to know what's happening in different sections.
That's a really good report.
Yeah, around digital. So yeah, we recommend that one. Okie doke. So we'll just, I think we fit in the last two, Sweyn, before we go. Yeah. Okay. So this is just a story from Twitter about devices saved and people pleased. And this is a story from Castletown community team, I believe in Scotland. Is that correct?
Could be, not heard of it, but yes.
I think
it
so.
Looks like it's part of
because they're working with Digi Scott. Yep.
Yep.
And it's a tweet that says, another round of devices saved and people pleased. Fortnightly on a Thursday, 11 to 2 p.m. from the community hub beside the pound shop. Pop in with a device for a free fix-up or cheapest solution.
Oh, look at that.
Fab to work in partnership with Repair Glasgow, Digi Scott support. So yeah, there's a picture of somebody who's come in with a cracked screen and it got fixed.
Yay. So, and somebody else, the switch on his charging port was fixed. That looks like a Nintendo DS or something like that.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's great. There's so many of these repairing and fixing workshops springing up all over the place. It's great to see that.
Good. We're pleased to hear about it, and we encourage more people to do that because the resources that we need that are needed. I just heard a story on another radio station about it this morning. Resources need to produce new stuff. It's not good for the climate. So we need to be mindful of all that, and it's better to fix something.
One of the biggest things that an individual can do in terms of carbon and the environment is to hang on to devices for longer and not replace them so often. Even Apple have started, this is in the news this week, have started supplying spare parts for people at home to fix their devices instead of having to pay a fortune at a so-called Genius desk in their Apple store. So that's all
absolutely
all this stuff seems to be going in the right direction at the moment.
Good. And our last but not least story is from a volunteering project called Ships. I think we've mentioned them sometimes before, but we saw a clip on YouTube of somebody who has moved from drug dependency to volunteering with the Digital Inclusion Project of Ships. And so we wanted to play you out with a couple of minutes from that. So Sweyn, we want to listen to how Lee turned his life around, please.
Yep.
I think that a lack of technology or basic digital skills can be a huge barrier for people that are homeless when they're trying to reintegrate back into society. These are skills they might need for, say, so if you're going to like the housing office and you're bidding for a council property, you need to do online bidding. There's going to be things like accessing medical reports, setting up appointments. Just engaging with services or even just registering with services so you can get that support, so you can get help.
All the people that we're working with have all got amazing, complex stories, but the commitment that they are bringing to the project is truly amazing. And it just makes you think. You should stand back and think. These are the people that really do need to be running projects like this, and through this Ships program, that's exactly what will happen.
Before, the city was just places I would go and meet dealers. There's even these steps behind me. The last time I was here, I was injecting. I remember being covered in blood and trying to hide it from people walking past. Now this is somewhere I can come and meet people like you and do a project like this. There's restaurants where I can go and meet my friends, my family. There's job opportunities like working with Bevan Healthcare. You know, I get to rewrite those memories, those horrible memories that are tied in with this city. I get to walk around now as a new person and rewrite those memories as good things with opportunities.
I just thought that was a great story, you know, great positive story anyway, but great to hear that somebody is involved with a digital project and can be such an inspiration, I think, for other people as well.
No,
So great.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks, Sweyn, for guiding us through the visuals again. Thank you very much.
Thank
and for all the
you.
chat. And thanks everybody for joining us. And we hope you have a great week.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.